You're in the Business Insurance Zone with me, Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Backroom Technician. This week on The Biz, our online legal documentation series. And on today's show, the financial power of attorney with special guest Frank Divers and Dean Martin from Estate Docs Pro.
When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Well, welcome everyone to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm your host, Steve Savant, and we're broadcasting to a nationwide audience of financial advisors right here in Fountain Hills, Arizona, home of America's largest fountain. With me, day 3, Dean Martin. Hey, Dean Martin's on my show. Hey, Dean. And Frank Divers.
Hey, Steve, good to
Frank,
see you.
it's bad when you and I don't have any cool name, but you got a cool name.
Well, they call
Well,
us
if you
the
were
Frank and Dean
Sammy,
show.
you know, it would have been perfect.
If it Frank Sinatra,
There
Dean
you
Martin.
go. That's right. There you
I
go.
just say Frank and Dean were on my show, and
There
maybe
you go.
they'll. I don't know if I can actually persuade my
Plastic
audience.
surgeon destroyed the singing voice. Just
Unreal.
hasn't been the
Yeah.
same.
Well, I have to say, every so often on television, I see the Dean Martin Redux shows, and they're hilarious.
They are.
I mean, they are really, and that was kind of almost entertainment without too much what I would call vulgarity.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
Well, today we're talking about the power of attorney, but before I want to get into that, because I do want to talk about that, this is a really weird, we always have financial nomenclature, language that doesn't seem to fit. And this is a perfect one for me because every time we've mentioned this in past shows, people go, Steve, you talked about a pour over will. Are you watering your plants? What are you, are you gardening? What's a pour over will? I mean, think about that. Talk to me about what is a pour over will?
Well, a pour-over will is basically with a trust. You got to understand a trust. When you have a revocable living trust, it's really not worth the paper it's printed on if you don't fund it. You got to put your assets into the trust. That's how you avoid.
Now, how much of that do you see, Dean? I mean, we do the documentation, and then we don't transfer assets into the trust.
A lot.
Oh, so many times.
Yeah.
In fact, we built a whole online funding kit. We got a patent pending. You won't find that anywhere else. Just because so many people, I got a trust 20 years ago. Well, have you funded it or have you kept it up to date? I have to do that? And they don't. They don't. They buy a new car, they buy a new house, they buy this, they buy that, and they don't move it in. Well, if you die without having funded it into your trust, well, how is it going to get there so it gets to your beneficiaries that you've outlined? That's what a pour over will does. It grabs those assets that you forgot or left outside and pours them back into your trust after you die. Now, it has to go through the probate process. You don't avoid that, but that's its purpose. Its purpose is to kind of catch the rest so that everything flows through your trust, and so you don't have to go out and pick out your beneficiaries multiple times.
Well, Frank, as you know, we have consumers watching this show, and I promise you they did not know they have to check in,
Right.
update, and worst of all, they need to actually fund this.
Well, and that's the neat thing about our system is we empower the producer because of our online funding kit. We give them a reason to go back every year and revisit their client and go through all of the changes in their life to make sure their trust is funded. So it's a service to the client. It's also a service to the producer because they get an excuse or a reason to talk to their client again. And it's really a win-win.
It's a kind of a built-in follow-up system, Steve, whereas if you went to a traditional attorney in a law setting, be in their office, and you had an estate plan done, let's say 5 years ago, and you paid for that service, and then you leave. Well, for all intents and purposes, you're out of sight, out of mind to the attorney, versus a producer has an ongoing relationship with you because of the product, the financial products that they're providing you. So this gives you a built-in way or another reason to follow up with your client to make sure that they keep their documents current.
Well, let's watch a clip from Mark Kohler, again, National Estate Attorney and CPA, I might add, a little bit on pour over wills.
What is a pour over will? Now, that sounds kind of interesting that you would use the word pour over and will and bring this, this concept into estate planning. But it's a very important concept that I'd like you to understand just the basics of. And we can quickly run through this. Now, if you've already watched a couple of the videos or been doing some research, a pour over will is going to be a part of an estate plan with a living trust. And if you've seen my prior video, the typical diagram is going to be something like this. Your revocable living trust is the foundation of your estate plan. It's going to own your corporations, your LLCs that may own your rental properties, and then your trust is going to also be the owner of your primary residence, and maybe 401ks, IRAs, and then investments. These are the 4 main assets that I want to make sure in your trust. And of course, life insurance could play in this as well. I should put that over here, life insurance. Now, Now here's the deal. We're going to be able to avoid probate by having these different assets in my trust, which is very, very powerful. And we can avoid that by doing a trust. So we want that trust in the mix. But there may be some additional assets that never made it into your trust. Personal property such as cars or jewelry or paintings or just extra little things. So it's very important that you have a will that upon your passing pours into, so we got a little bucket here of assets that's going to pour into your trust. And that's the benefit of having a pour over will, is so that you avoid probate on all those extra little assets. So with a trust, we can avoid all court involvement, no lawyers, no extra expenses, and the pour over will is an appendage to your trust. So we still have the will, and it's going to also appoint your guardians and executors for your funeral and burial and all that good stuff, and then it pours into the trust, and then everything is distributed to your family in the manner in which the trust says. So pretty straightforward, and we want to make sure that a will is a part of your estate plan.
Well, that was estate attorney Mark Kohler, and CPA, I might add. And remember, he has 2 books out, Lawyers Are Liars, which I'm sorry, I love that title, and What Your CPA Isn't Telling You. Both those books, I'm sure they're out on the street. You can buy them, probably Amazon.com or whatever. He explains it so easily. I mean, you did a great job. He just did a fantastic job. This is exactly what we need. Technical terms in English. When we come back from the break, we're going to continue talking about the power of attorney, really getting into it with our online legal documentary series. And remember, you can go out to IULUniversity.com for the best training, education, and sales support when it comes to life insurance for retirement income.
You're listening to the insurance industry's #1 resource for products, planning ideas, carrier information, and interviews you can use. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Did you know the average 401k runs out of money just 7 to 8 years into retirement? Time Magazine, the Wall Street Journal, and many other publications have warned of the difficulty of saving with a 401k. But what if there was a way to create tax-free lifetime retirement income with no stock market risk? Good news, there is.
You know, living in fear of the next market dive is not the way I want to live my life.
Why would I go out there and take on risk when I don't need to?
I have a lot less stress knowing I can't lose any more of my retirement savings in the stock market.
Call now to receive your free, no-obligation analysis of what this retirement vehicle could do for you, a comparison to your current retirement plan, and a free video that explains this exciting opportunity. Start planning a retirement you can enjoy instead of worrying about future tax increases and stock market losses. Creating income that will last your entire life is the most important thing you'll ever do. Take control of your future. Call now for your free analysis, comparison, and video.
Well, welcome back to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm Steve Savant with Frank Divers and Dean Martin. And remember, you can order today's materials at thebiz.tv. And while you're out there, click on the backroom technician icon on the Biz blog for their 30-day free trial offer for the best needs analysis and education materials that address almost every single financial planning scenario. I wrote some of it, so hopefully you'll like it. And just about the time you need to move forward with anything that you hear on our show, always check in with your tax attorney, your legal counsel, as well as your broker-dealer compliance officer if you're so FINRA licensed. We're talking about this segment, financial power of attorney. Now, when I first heard this as a young advisor, this is it's 20-something years ago, I thought, oh, I'm giving power, financial power, to an attorney to work on my behalf. Remember, most consumers, people are watching our show, read these kind of things and they just go, oh, I'm telling an attorney you have the authority to act on my behalf on my finances. That isn't it.
No, not at all. A power of attorney at its core is giving power to somebody else to execute things on your behalf. Mm-hmm. A financial power of attorney is giving this individual, whoever you select, power to execute documents.
It could be a family member.
It could be a family member. It could be
a trustee at a bank.
A trustee at a bank could be, your neighbor across the street. Mm-hmm. Whoever you want, and you're giving them authority under certain conditions to basically act as you on whatever you outline in the document.
Is that different than giving a health directive?
It's similar in the fact of in a healthcare power of attorney, it deals with healthcare areas. Financial power of attorney deals with financial authority. And so with our document kit that you get with all the various documents, your trustee is the one that has authority over assets in the trust. Your financial power of attorney is for those who power over things that are not in the trust, have not been funded. And a lot of times that you'll do that because maybe you have a bank account that you keep outside the trust for personal reasons, or you've got other assets that you want to deal with you can't put in the trust for a variety of reasons, or maybe you forgot. You get. We had real case. Guy got hit in a motorcycle accident. He's in a coma. They don't know if he's going to make it. The guy with his financial power of attorney went in and funded all the assets that he hadn't put in his trust, just in case he passed. Now, fortunately, he got better and was okay. But just in case, that's what your power of attorney can do. They basically can act on your behalf when you can't, because
we're going to talk about the healthcare thing tomorrow. I mean, so be tuned for that, because that's becoming the big thing now, making people who's going to make the call on healthcare directive issues. Frank, I'm looking at this. When we're looking at the financial power of attorney, and people figure out they don't need an attorney on this, they can. Have you seen, are family members a good choice? I mean, because people always argue this. Should I put my eldest son in charge of this or not? I know they do, but
Sometimes
should
they do.
they?
Well, the answer is it depends on the individuals. It is a power of choice. You are making that choice, so whether someone should influence you to make a different choice, it still comes down to you. You are in control, which is the main purpose behind doing an estate plan, is you make the decision, not someone else. And you can keep in mind that whatever you decide today, whoever you empower today through the power of attorney, if for whatever reason circumstances change down the road, you're able to go back in and change that. So it's not a decision that's cast in stone forever. If whatever happens, sometimes things happen in life that you change your mindset, the relationship changes or whatever. Through our system, you're able to go back in there without having to go to an attorney's office and make the changes in the legal documents right in the cloud.
You could change the power of attorney.
Absolutely.
And you can pick an alternate power of attorney in case the first one's not
contingent.
available.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, we're going to watch a little clip by National Attorney and CPA Mark Kohler, a little bit about financial power of attorney.
What is this financial durable power of attorney? This is a very, very important document, and it works hand in hand with your living trust. Now, why you would need one of these is that if you don't pass away, your trust still plays a major role if you become disabled or incapacitated. So you want to appoint backup trustees in your trust to take care of your assets, pay the bills, collect, monies or cash, Social Security checks, whatever the case could be, and you want that trustee to run your business and affairs. And if you're not able to do so because you're hurt, not in a coma and they're pulling the plug, but just to the point where you're incapacitated or out of the country or something crazy, your trustee can take over your financial life and manage your trust assets. Well, in order to do that, and when you show up at the bank and do transactions, this is where the financial power of attorney plays a major role. Because if you show up at the bank and roll out a trust, sometimes the bankers are going to be like, now who are you? You're the backup trustee. Do you have power of attorney? Oh yeah, I do. Boom. And you throw out the durable financial power of attorney. And then it's going to list your backup trustees that they have power. Now, the reason why this is also called a springing power of attorney at times is that it doesn't spring into effect until it needs to be there. So while you're alive and well, no one has power of attorney over your finances. But once you become incapacitated and the trustee needs to step up to the plate, it springs into effect. So that's kind of why I call this springing financial power of attorney at times. So it's very important that you have it there. I don't want you to be concerned that someone's going to run out and start cashing checks or paying, writing money out of your account. They can't do it until you have become incapacitated, and then it would spring into effect. Now, the word why it's called durable is that it's durable and still stays in effect even if you are incapacitated. And so sometimes people give power of attorney, like you might say, oh, my brother has power of attorney to close on this house purchase. And you give them specific power of attorney to do one little thing. Now, if you were incapacitated or there was a problem, that power of attorney might be in question. But with a durable power of attorney, you're saying to this person, you have power of attorney no matter what happens to me to do these certain things if I'm incapacitated. So it's springing into effect, it's durable, and then it allows your designee to run your trust and affairs. So it's an important document, and you'll be able to read it, of course, and make sure you understand it completely before you sign it. But I think it's a really important part of, again, a comprehensive estate plan that's going to give you a ton of peace of mind.
That was an easy explanation. I actually got that.
Yes.
Dean?
Oh, that's the great thing about Mark. A lawyer doesn't talk like a lawyer, and he really explains how this works. It's financial power of attorney. It's really important to have one. If you don't have one, who's in charge? Who's controlling your assets?
He doesn't use legalese, he uses simplese.
Yeah.
Well, I'm into that because I am, as O'Reilly says, a simple man. Well, that's the show we have for today. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or email me at steve@thebiz.tv. Well, that's the Buzz on the Biz for today. You've been in the zone, the business insurance zone.
You're listening to the insurance industry's #1 resource for products, planning ideas, carrier information, and interviews you can use. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.